I'm Corolla. On socials, I'm from Corolla, and this is a Q1 recap of how I use my planners and journals, a couple of minor changes I made moving into Q2, and I'll do some setups for March at the end of this video if you want to stick around for that. So let's get right into how I used my planners in Q1, so January to March. And how that's been going for me. So let's start by looking at my two main planners. First, I have my Plotter A5, and so this is what I used for work or project management. So anything that I was kind of working on, this was where I organized it. So the way that I set it up was in the front section, before I get into the monthly spreads or the monthly layout, I just had chores, a chore chart, my visual, my vision board, some travel plans and things like that in the front, just things that I needed to reference and keep myself organized. And then I used the Plotter monthly refills. The monthly overlook or the monthly spreads, I basically used just to get a bird's eye view of what I wanted to work on in that month, including deadlines for projects and also content that I wanted to put out onto my social platforms. Then I have a section of the weekly refills, again from Plotter, and on a weekly basis I just took notes in terms of projects that I was working on, and then just listing out all of the little steps that I needed to do to get that content out. So it looks something like this, very simple, no aesthetic nature to it, so I didn't add stickers or anything like that to make it look good. Just using a pen and, jotting down the tasks that I wanted to get done that layered sort of up to the content that I was posting. And then in the back here, I have projects, brainstorming, notes, anything like that kind of went in the back here. I also made vellum folders so I can organize all the projects together and all the different sections. And then I have a notebook in the back. This is the Hobonichi supplemental notebook. And this is where I kept tabs on social stats and analytics, anything like that that I wanted to just kind of have on hand. That's what I would tuck in the back. So this is my setup for the Plotter A5. Going into 2026, this is how I set it up, and this is how I'm still using it. So I think for me it works to have everything that I need that's project related in this sort of A5 format, because there's a lot of space to brainstorm and take notes and stuff like that. So having this in A5 I think is very helpful. And then we have the Plotter Mini 5. So if you've seen my previous videos, just recapping each month so far in terms of how I'm using my planners and journals, you'll know that I started using this in January after I was gifted this cover by the Plotter team for being on their podcast. And initially I didn't have this in my lineup. I just wanted to use my Plotter A5. But then after I got this and I just kind of played around with it, I realized that the Mini 5 is actually my ideal everyday carry. And so I just naturally started using it as my daily planner. So the way I've set it up is I actually got a couple of things to add to my Mini 5 at the San Francisco Stationery Fest, which happened at the end of March. And one of those things is this enclosure band, just to keep it all contained, which I think is kind of important. And then I also added this leather wallet insert. And right now I don't have anything in it, but I'm thinking, you know, if I leave the house or all I want to do is carry this mini 5 instead of my wallet, then I can just throw in the cards that I need on the go. Or the other use case for something like this is if I'm traveling and I only need to carry, you know, a credit card or something like that with me, then that's something I can throw in here. So right now I'm just kind of testing it being in my mini 5. I just want to see how bulky or if it feels bulky at all. And so that's why that's there. But the way that I'm using the mini 5 is basically I have plotter monthly refills in here, and essentially just putting in all of my schedules or putting in all of my appointments and anything that's been planned. And I find that this is actually enough space for me to plan in. So I know one of the things, you know, when if you're thinking about a size like this, it's really, really small. One of the ways I got around this is by writing horizontally, I guess, vertically. I basically rotate my mini 5 onto its side, and I write things down, you know, horizontally this way. So reimagining the space a little bit helped, because I find that if I were to use the monthly layout here, it would be very, very small to cram in different things. But all of a sudden, if I just rotate, then I have a little bit, it feels like I have more space. So using it this way, I think makes it more useful for me. And it doesn't make me feel like I don't have enough space to put in the events and schedules or appointments. So just a couple of things I add into our hobby related, whether it's a new fountain pen or ink, or if I'm reading something, there's some notes that I can add in as well. But for the most part, I use the monthly refills for my appointments and things that are scheduled into the calendar. So aside from the monthly refills, I also use Filofax weekly inserts or refills, because Plotter does not have weekly refills for the mini 5. It would be very small, so I don't know space-wise if it would make sense anyways, but I like that Filofax has a week on 2 pages, and so I find that that's enough space for me to sort of be able to put in my schedules and appointments per week or for the week and get a weekly overview like that. So when I went to the San Francisco Stationery Fest, I also just threw in a page here to include the different things that I wanted to do per day. So anything that was scheduled or an event that was happening that I wanted to attend, I included that there as well. So just a little bit more space that way. So these are the Filofax mini. They're called, the Filofax size is called mini, and that will fit the mini 5 if you have a plotter or something similar. In terms of daily planning, I was just using paper that I had left over in previous notebooks, and I just cut them to size and then hole punched them and then threw them in here. So that's what I was doing until the end of March. And then I ended up using this 5mm dot grid refill pad from Plotter, and basically they're just dot grid, so that's kind of helpful, enough space to write down daily tasks and things. And then I just use a simple date stamper that's self-inking date stamper, and you know, just change up the date. And so super, super easy. I just use it as sort of a continuous log, and add that in here as well. And then I have a blotter paper that's hole punched, so that way if I'm quickly jotting something down and I close up the book, then the ink is absorbed on here, so that's not a big deal. And then I have just some blank papers in the back that I use for, taking notes or swatching pens or things like that. This is the pen loop. The pen that I'm using is the Tom Studio Lumos Mini, and it has a fine liner tip. It's reusable, so it's inked up with a fountain pen ink, and I can just keep inking it up or change up the ink if I want to. And then I also have this vertical year planner. This is from Filofax, and I'm basically using this as a document of important things that happen throughout the year. So trips will go in here, or doctor's appointments, or reference kind of notes. So I find it helpful to have a yearly view like this to have a space to document big things that happen throughout the year. And then this is the enclosure band. So that's how I was using the Mini 5 for Q1. So in January and February, I used the Traveler's notebook in passport size for daily logs. So while I had my schedule and appointments in the Mini 5, I wanted a slightly bigger space to do some daily logging. So this is essentially what I was doing, was just putting in tasks that I wanted to get done in the day, and then also doing some rapid log journaling. So as things happen throughout the day, I would just, in point form, log them down. So this would be, 1 page per day kind of insert. And so I did end up finishing this insert March 1st, and I set up a new insert. And the new insert started as of March 2nd. And I actually, while I used this first insert for daily tasks and for daily log journaling, or rapid log journaling, I guess, the second insert I actually just used for rapid log journaling. So same idea. Per day, I would just come in here and take quick notes about what happened throughout the day. And I like doing it this way because it's a great reference when later I'm journaling or reflecting on the day. And I have, when I talk about my journals, I'll refer to these inserts as a point of reference for my journals. And it's kind of a great way of jogging my memory because I don't have the best memory. So, trying to remember every single thing that happened throughout the day that related to me, that related to my kids. Sometimes, if I don't get to journal in the day, then it's kind of tough for me to reflect on all the things that happened later in the week. So having a space to be able to do rapid log journaling and just in bullet point form, quickly write down the things that are happening is really useful for me. So that's how I'm continuing to use it moving into April, and it's working really well for me. And I've mentioned in the past that I pulled out a couple of sticker release pages from the Traveler's sticker release insert, and I just have it tucked in the back here, and I put in some small icons, mostly from the Coffee Monsters Co., that I use just to add a little bit of interest in my journal or in my insert. And I have it all, this whole insert and the pages kind of tucked into this inverted folder, this craft folder. And so if I'm traveling or I'm taking it out of the house, then it's sort of contained within. And I also have a folder in here that has some sticker sheets that are useful for me. And then something that I started at the end of March, or I guess beginning of April, is this Love and Trip insert. So I had purchased this last year, and I kind of wanted to use it for journaling, and I am using it for that. So just adding, you know, a few ephemera things that I come across and a little bit of journaling. I don't think I'm going to use this on a daily basis. Well, I haven't been using it on a daily basis. I've been using it occasionally or wanting to use it occasionally. And I think that's how I'm going to use it for the rest of the year, is just occasional journaling when I have something to write about or something to stick in here. So that's my setup of the Traveler's Notebook in passport size. So later in this video, I'm going to set up a new Traveler's Notebook. So if you're interested in that, then again, stick around or use the timestamp to jump ahead and check that out. So now my journals, and we're going to start with the Hemlock and Oak weekly and daily undated planner in A5. And this Hemlock and Oak planner was gifted to me by the Hemlock and Oak team. And it was mainly to test out the paper, which is 70 GSM archivist paper. It was specially formulated for Hemlock and Oak. They're a Canadian company, and one of their values is entrenched in sustainability. And so I really, I'm drawn to that, and I was very interested in trying out their paper. And I have to say, I've really enjoyed using this planner and being able to plan on this paper. So in January, I used the monthly. So just to kind of highlight events that I wanted to document or remember. And then this column here, I basically just listed the flowers that I practiced drawing in the daily pages. So I'll show you that in a second. So that's January. This is February. Just a few things that I wanted to highlight. And then again, a few flowers that I practiced drawing. And this is March, and I used this really cute cat washi tape that I got at the SF Stationery Fest. And so I found that really, really cute. And the weekly section, initially in January, I started using it for memory keeping. I just didn't really like this layout and the way the columns were very restrictive. And so I kind of transitioned to just using it as a back planning sort of spread. So memory keeping, but only focused on kind of my schedule and my plans for the week. And so that kind of, made it a little bit easier to fit things into the columns, and I thought it looked a lot better. So this I was doing on my Twitch stream every Monday. So just a little bit of back planning and, color coding a few things using washi tape, stickers that I liked, stamps. I also felt that this paper was really good at handling stamping. So that was kind of nice to do. And then moving into March, continuing to use it as a back planning spread, and using fountain pens actually to do the writing. And great paper for fountain pen use, etc. So this was the way I used it in Q1, and I will continue using it this way in Q2. Again, kind of making use of washi tape that I have sitting around and using it as decoration. The daily pages, again, because they're undated, I didn't really need to use them as a planner or for planning purposes. And instead, I decided to use it for drawing practice as well as journaling based on a prompt. And so I was doing this on my stream mostly, sometimes on my own time. But again, it's kind of a way to use my stationery supplies in different ways. I was using Tombow dual brush pens and getting a watercolor painted effect with them. So if you're curious about that, then tune into my Monday Twitch streams or watch the replays that I post on YouTube. And you can see how I use Tombow dual brush pens for this or in this way. And so it's kind of a fun way to practice drawing based on looking at reference photos of flowers, and then just doing a little bit of light journaling. So that's how I was using the daily pages. A lot more daily pages left over. Probably by the end of the year, I won't be able to finish all of or fill up all the daily pages, but I'm kind of taking it, day by day, week by week, and having fun with filling up this planner with different creative ways of using it. So I will mention that while this was gifted to me, Hemlock and Oak opened up their pre-order for 2027 planners. And I know it's early. I know we're only going into Q2. It's only the 4th month of the year, and we're already talking about 2027. But I think, it was a business decision on their end, probably to get a feel for the numbers or how much interest there is in the new sizes and new offerings that they have. And so I did pre-order my 2027 planner, an A6 daily, and it has the 70 GSM archivist paper, which is what this planner is using, because I do really enjoy the paper. And so I wanted to pre-order just to, support them. And also I do have a use case for it already. So if you are interested in pre-ordering at any point with Hemlock and Oak, or, if you want to wait until their stock comes out to order then, you can use my affiliate code and save a little bit of money. So take a look at that. And this is my Hobonichi 5-year in A5. I've been using it consistently for the past, this is my 3rd year. So 2 years in, and still going strong. I call it my archive because I use it to document the daily happenings in my family's life. So basically anything that happens that pertains to me and my kids and my husband. And I just wanted to have a document of, what we were up to, because it's fountain pen friendly. My main writer in this book is the Pilot Custom 823, and I have it inked up with Edelstein Tanzanite. So it's a nice dark ink, and it's a really nice fountain pen with a signature nib. So just consistently using the same pen and ink so far this year, but I think I will change that up, maybe going into Q2 with a new ink. Next up, we have a Midori A5 lined notebook, and I use this for stream of consciousness journaling or writing. Usually I go in here in the morning with a cup of coffee and use any of my fountain pens that I specifically like to write with. And so because it's really fast, just unfiltered thoughts that go in here, I typically like to use broader nibs, or nibs that have a naginata variation grind on it. And it's a great way of using those fountain pens that are really juicy and put down a lot of ink. And I don't have to worry too much because I'm not writing to reread my entries. It doesn't have to be grammatically correct or even legible. But it's just a way of me being able to enjoy my fountain pens and enjoy the writing experience and get some thoughts onto paper so I can move on and not have it swirling around in my mind all day. So the front page I'm just using as a running, currently inked per se, of the fountain pens that I'm using in this notebook specifically. And so it's just, the pen, the nib, and the ink that I have. And that's what I use in this book. And just to get an idea of what the inks would look like on Midori cream paper, because not all of my planners or journals have the Midori cream, and so fountain pen inks might look a little bit different on this paper. I use this Midori booklet to swatch my inks, sometimes before I ink up the pen, just to double check what the ink would look like on cream paper. So it's kind of a nice way as well to swatch and document the different inks that I might use in here. So love this sticker as well. It's from Oblation Papers and Press. It's very cute. Okay, almost last one. Second last, I think, is the Plotter Mini 5 Square. So the Mini 5 Square is the same size vertically as the Mini 5, but it has a little bit more space horizontally. So if you find the size, the Mini 5 size is just a little bit too small for writing something in, then I find that the Square actually sort of solves that problem, because you just have a little bit more space horizontally to include more information if you're journaling or, you know, whatever you're kind of using it for. So the way that I used it into this year basically is for documenting my hobbies. So what I was reading, some book notes, and so these pages are from the Mini 5, and I just threw them into here, into the Square, to keep them all together. Also do a monthly recap of fountain pen related things. And so I've set it up for April and onwards. Slightly different setup, but similar information, or the same information. Then I also have a running currently inked list. So every time I ink up a fountain pen, I use it to just do a quick writing sample. So it'll be the pen, the nib, and the ink that I have in it. And I have a blotter sheet here just that I can move around. And it would absorb any ink that I might have there if I close up my book. So the other pages that I use in here are basically for swatching inks. So this is the latest ink from the Coffee Monsters Co. in collaboration with Robert Oster, called Murky Pond Water. And so I wanted to test it or swatch it on Tomoe River paper as well as Midori cream paper. And then I got this washi tape at the SF Stationery Fest from Dana Ate Oatmeal. It's fountain pen friendly, so I wanted to test that out, of course. And if I get a new pen or fountain pen, then I swatch it here. And then I also take this mini square to meetups and events. And so I did take it to SF Stationery Fest. Tried out a few fountain pens that friends brought. Also take it with me to meetups. So these pages are really handy to have because I can swatch pens, I can swatch ink, and have this as a reference. So the next time I go to these events, I can sort of refer back to what I did try and what I kind of liked. So if there's a pen or ink that I want to pick up, then this is kind of a nice way of figuring that out. So I do have papers in the back here. These are from a Midori notebook that I finished using, but I had leftover pages in it, so I pulled them out and cut them to size and hole punched them. And so I have Midori cream paper here, which is really nice. Also have some papers from last year that I wanted to have in here for reference. I also have this used refill pad. This is a plotter refill pad, but I used most of the pages, just have a little bit left. And I kind of like having this tucked in the back because, if I go to an event or a meetup where people want to try inks or pens, but they don't have fountain pen friendly paper with them, this is an easy way for me to share a page, and they can try out those inks and pens as well. So having this here is useful. Also, I can fit quite a few pages in here, even though it's a slim binder, so you don't want to overfill it. But it's just kind of a nice size in terms of being able to carry the things I want to that are related to this hobby, this community. Last thing, and I kept this for my last item to talk about because I am changing it over a little bit in March or I'm changing it over in Q2. So I'm transitioning out of this and I'm using it for something else. So the way I used it in Q1 was for daily journaling, and I used the Love and Trip insert and the Sora calendar, desktop calendar, and it's a daily tearaway calendar. And I basically fit 3 days per 2 pages and was able to finish it off with the end of Q1. And so 3 months in this insert is really good. I'm not going to continue this into Q2. So I didn't set up a new insert to do daily journaling just because I found that some days I just didn't really have anything to write about. And then it felt like a chore or something I just had to do for the sake of doing it. And I just didn't really want to continue it into Q2. So I'm taking a little break from this type of journaling. Instead, what I did was I then took out my passport size Love and Trip insert and started this on March 1st or April 1st. I started this on April 1st, but the idea is not to do daily journaling in this. The idea is to just journal whenever I have something to put in here or write about or something that stood out. So occasional journaling over daily journaling, I think, is going to be my Q2 theme. So we'll see how that goes. So this I'm retiring. Instead of using this cover for journaling, I now have inserts in here for inky fun. So I have an insert where you can put business cards in, but I put swatch cards in. These are Wearing Ghoul swatch cards. And I basically swatched inks or ink bottles that I really, really like. So these are the ink bottles that are among my top favorites. So if I want to ink up a pen and I want to use an ink that I really enjoy, I'll refer to these swatches. And it's kind of fun to have it here. And I also have an insert here. This is the Everyday Book from Galen Leather. It has Tomoyo River paper, and I use it for swatching my currently inked or notably inked fountain pens. So these are monthly spreads where I basically pick out the fountain pens that I have inked up that are notable for the month, that are significant because of the type of nib or ink that I'm using, or it could be a new fountain pen. And I generally do this on my Twitch streams as well. So mid-month, I usually do a currently inked stream, and I'll do this on my stream. Just talk about the pens and the nibs and the inks. So if this is something you're curious about, feel free to join one of my streams when I do currently inked, or check out my replays that I have on YouTube, and you can see how I did these spreads, and you can see how I sort of choose my fountain pens for the month and why I ink them up with the inks that I use. So for now, for March or April, that's all I'm going to use this cover for inky fun and sort of documenting inks and fountain pens. Honorable mention for Q1 is my Traveler's Notebook in regular size. This is the Airlines special release, or one of the covers that they released a couple of years ago. And I use this cover for trips and for travel journaling. So I wanted to do a special shout out to this cover because it holds an insert, the Kyoto insert for family trips. So this is, you know, these are spreads that contain photos and ephemera and other things that I collect on trips where that I take with my family. And then I have an insert in the back, and this is for solo trips. So this would be pen shows, stationery events, and you know, trips that I go on that are hobby related for the most part. So I throw in, you know, ephemera, photos, things that I collect on those trips. And so I created a spread, or I created a few spreads here for the San Francisco Stationery Fest. So this happened at the end of March, and it was over a weekend. And yeah, I just love that I was able to collect ephemera, take some photos, and create this really fun reflection and a way to sort of look back on trips and feel nostalgic. And, you know, I miss my friends. So that's how I've set this up. This is the California insert from Traveler's Notebook or Traveler's Company. And once I'm done this insert, I think I have enough probably for one more trip because I use quite a few pages to fill them up with photos and ephemera and stuff. So probably have enough space for one more trip, and then I'll have to decide what insert to use for my next solo trip insert. So in terms of a Q1 recap, these are basically the systems that I used for planning and journaling. And overall, I found that these systems really work for me. The only thing I'm going to be retiring is daily journaling in my Traveler's Notebook regular size. So I did get a quarter in one of the inserts, and I'm very happy with that. I just won't be continuing it in Q2. And then in terms of the cover, I will be using it for inky highlights or things that are related to inks and fountain pens that I'm using. And the other thing that I finished also is the TN Passport insert for daily log journaling and also just for daily tasks. And I set up a new insert that I will be using for rapid log journaling on a daily basis. So it's useful for that. So if you stuck around this far and you want to watch me set up a couple of systems for April or Q2, let's get into that. So moving into April and Q2, I wanted to do a couple of changes in my setups. And it's mostly because of the things I got at the San Francisco Stationery Fest. So one of the things I got was a new Traveler's Notebook in passport size. Yes, it's the Love and Trip. And I've already unboxed it because I did want to take a look at it and, you know, check it out and smell it. But I haven't set it up, so I figured I would do it in this video. So if you're interested in that, then stick around. I also got this leather folder at the SF Stationery Fest, so I'm going to be tucking this in here as well. And something else I pulled out from my Traveler's Notebook box is just elastics, because I want to show you also and talk about when you're setting up a new Traveler's Notebook. You can either use the elastic that comes with the cover, or this is the repair kit. And also, I think I threw in elastics from other covers too that I wasn't using because they include an extra elastic in the box. And so I kind of throw it into this one place, and I like to interchange and change around the elastic once in a while just to, you know, freshen up the look. So I did that with this cover by using this dark green elastic, and I thought that went with the brown really, really well. And for now, though, I think I'm going to stick to the red elastic, but I'm kind of thinking that this yellow, this mustard yellow elastic might look really, really good with the red. So that's something I'm going to consider in the future. But for now, we'll set that aside, and we'll set this up. And the reason why I got the Travelers or the Love and Trip cover after it had been released is because I wanted to make sure that I actually used the passport size, and then I found it useful to have. Because I have this cover, which I love so much. I've been using it for 10 years off and on. It is an original cover, so it does say Midori in the back. And I got it in Tokyo, so using this cover always brings back, you know, really good memories. And as much as I've loved using this cover, I do also feel like sometimes I get a little nervous traveling with it because I'm not, you know, I don't mind scratches. You know, I'm not scared of getting scratches on here, but I am kind of scared of getting like gouges or really, you know, really damaging the cover in some way. And I think that nervousness made me think that, yeah, I would rather get a different cover to use on a daily basis and be able to travel with it and not worry too much about babying it. So I got this Love and Trip because I love this color, and also because I think it goes really, really well with my Mini 5, which is a red-brown cover. And so I think these two go really well together. So the Love and Trip cover is sort of this deep red-brown color, but inside it's a little bit redder. It's a little richer. It feels very soft. And it comes with a Love and Trip insert, which I actually already picked up, but it's always good to have a second one, I guess. And I like that they include these white pages, white paper, just to protect the insert, protect the foiling, I guess, and it sort of, you know, keeps it all nice and new. So the way I'm going to set it up is similar to the setup of this cover. So I'm basically going to take out the things I have in here, and I'm going to move them over. So you'll see how I've set it up in this cover. So basically how I like to set up my cover is I'll remove this one. It's very pretty, but I like to use an inverted craft folder, and you can get this from Travelers Company. And I put that into the main elastic. And so the back of this craft folder, I actually stick in stickers and papers that I might need in my insert. And I also have some sticky notes on here. But essentially what I can do now is if I don't have these stickers in here, I can use it to put in one of the inserts. So this is the insert. I'm using a Love and Trip insert for occasional journaling. And so what you could do is you could tuck this cover into this folder here. But I think what I'm going to do is, because I have stickers here, I'm just going to leave them in there, and I'm just going to put this insert here. And, you know, having the elastic around the cover will contain the insert, it protects it, and it won't just fall out. So I'm pretty confident in just having it tucked in the back. And then I have this TN folder that has these stickers, but I think what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to use the leather folder. So one of the reasons of, you know, using this leather folder is that it's a novelty. It's not found everywhere. I got it at the SFSF. So if you do, you know, go to a live or an event where Travelers Company is there, or, you know, specific locations that may have these on hand. You may also be able to find them online, but I'm not too sure. And, you know, it feels very, very soft. It's a leather product. It will, you know, it won't rip or anything like that. So it's going to last for a long time. And it's also pretty slim. So I think what I want to use is just, or what I want to do is use it for sticker sheets or, you know, receipts or things like that when I'm traveling. So for now, I think I'll tuck these sheets in. They don't fit perfectly. There's a little bit of overhang, but I'm not too bothered about that. And maybe I'll tuck it in the middle just to protect the leather. You could also, you know, put it in the back if you wanted to, or something like that. But I think I'll tuck it in the middle for now and kind of think about it. We'll see as I use it. So in the front, I like to tuck this insert in, and that will kind of just go into this folder. So now it's set in place. And usually when I use this, I will just take this book out. And so that's why I like having this system of the folder to contain the insert at least, because if I had it within an elastic, it just makes it uncomfortable to write on sometimes. If you have it within the cover doesn't always stay flat right away. You kind of need to train it to do that or have clips to hold it down. But in this way, I can just slide it out, use it, and then slide it back in. Or, you know, if I'm not too bothered, then I just tuck it into the cover as I do the insert in the back. And it's good to go. So that's my setup for now. I don't know if I need this in here or if it's something that I throw in if I'm on the go. But, you know, you could fit quite a bit in this cover. And because it's new, there's a little bit of overhang, a tiny bit. There's a tiny bit of overhang. But as the cover stretches with use and just with handling, I find that, you know, it makes space for the inserts that you have in here. So that's how I'm going to have it for now, but we'll see. The other thing that I want to add to this cover, and I think I will add it to the small bookmark thread that they have, is this really, really cute charm. It's a really cute charm. It has the Golden Gate Bridge and a bird sort of flying over it. And on the other side, it's like a postcard. It says SFSF. And this charm was created by Catherine, and this is her Instagram handle. And it was really, really cool because she created this and left it in surprise places around the show. And so if you found it, you know, you could keep it. And I just thought it was such a nice surprise and such a lovely touch for someone to create this and want to share it with the community. And so I'm going to add this to my cover. Basically, just slide it into the thread and then knot it. And there may be a better way of doing this so that it doesn't fall out. But so it is now added to the bottom it's now added to my cover, and it's similar. So it's similar to the tag that I have on the bottom of this cover. That's from Traveler's Company, and it's just a little like bag tag, a brass charm that is really cute, and it ages really nicely. So I'll keep this on here for now, but it's really, really cute. I like it. I like it. I think it's a nice little extra touch. I may leave it on here, or I may put it onto this elastic, because the other thing I have to think about is what charms I'm going to put on. So this cover, I have the polar bear that usually comes out around the holidays. You can grab this if it's not in stock. And then I also have a Tom Studio Field Mouse reusable fine liner. And I just like having this with me. It's kind of like an emotional support fine liner, or, you know, emergency pen. If I don't have a pen on me, I can always use it quickly to jot down notes. So I don't know. I might move these two over to this. What do you think? Should I? Should I not? I think I will. Okay, so if you want to put something on the elastic, all you have to do is untie one of the elastic strings, or both if you want to, and slide it out. And so you have the charms. This, and take out one. And you can also adjust your elastic this way, so if you need a little bit more space for your inserts, then you can always do this and adjust them. So I'm going to put the polar bear back on because I love the polar bear, and this pen as well. So then what you do is you put it back into the back hole, slide it back in. And sometimes if it's frayed, you can cut just a little bit off. And that way it makes it easier to slide back in. Not me taking forever to do this. There we go. Now it's in. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna make sure you don't want it too loose, but you also don't want it too tight, because you know you want enough space for all your inserts. So you do want it like this. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to slide them off, do that, pull them through, and then I'll do a light knot and see if that's enough. So I like that. That's nice. So then just make sure you knot that enough. And there we go. So I like that. It is set up similar to this, and I think this cover I won't be retiring altogether, I will be using it to house some of my older inserts that I like to look through sometimes, or inserts where I have reference information in them. So at least it'll stay at home and it will be displayed, and I'll continue to love it. So the other thing I wanted to set up for April is my mini 5. So basically what I do on a monthly basis is I take out the weekly pages for the previous month because I no longer need it, so it can go in the recycling bin. And that opens up a little bit more space as well. So now I only have April in here, and I do the same thing with the daily pages, or the pages that I use for daily logging. So that's all of March out, and so now all I have is April in here, and I will continue to add more pages for April as I go. The other thing I wanted to add in, because I got them at the SF Stationery Fest, are paper dividers. And this is from the Plotter Tokyo flagship store that the Plotter team brought with them to SF. So I thought they're very, very cool. I love the design, minimal but stylistic. So I thought this is kind of nice to divide things in the plotter. So I think I'm going to do that. The other thing I want to add in are project manager folders. So you can find this in, I think you can find this on the Plotter USA website. Or, you know, if you're able to access live events where they bring accessories like this, like I was able to, I find these really handy. So I've made folders like this in the past with just vellum paper, vellum that I had handy, and I found that really, you know, design wise I like it, and it's a way of reusing my vellum paper, but I do think that I want to add a couple of these in the back, and that way you can, you know, include secrets into your plotter, or, you know, just keep things private. If you have friends who'd like to look through your covers, or, you know, whatever, you can keep things private. And also, if you like to have notes on things but you don't like to look at them all the time, whether it's work related or health related, I find these folders useful. You know, you close it up and it's not there, it's out of mind. So that's kind of useful for having information or storing information. The other thing I got at the SF Stationery Fest is this 1mm grid refill paper pad. This is also from the Tokyo flagship store. But I think it's cool because the grid is a very light blue. So I don't know if you can see it. Okay, there we go. It's a very light blue grid that's very hard to capture. And the whole point is that, you know, it is light, it's not intrusive. It's great, though, to have it for hand lettering practice, or if you like to do calligraphy. This paper is fountain pen friendly, so, you know, you could use fountain pen inks in a creative way on this paper. But yeah, I essentially just wanted to have, you know, a different type of paper in my plotter just to play around with. can always put post-it or sticky notes on the back of this card so that it's useful to have. I think for now I'm just going to put one of these folders here until I can kind of decide how or what pages to stick in here. So I have this here, and so these are the new 1mm grid sheets that I have in here. So I might put a divider in here as well, just to show that this is the next section. Looks like kind of like the white, but I also like this blue gray, so maybe I'll put that in there. So that's for that. I'm not going to add too much more because otherwise it's going to become uncomfortable or awkward to move the pages or flip the pages and take some pages out and stuff like that. So I think I'm just going to leave it like this until I sort of decide on what to put in the folders or how many sections I actually want to have. But I think for now I'm happy with this. So I have a divider page behind this vellum, so that's kind of nice, and that so that will hold pretty much my monthly section, and then I have a divider page, and that will hold some extra papers and lists I have going on. Then I have the weekly pages, and then I have a divider page for this vellum that I can use to separate the daily pages. And then I have a folder in the back where I can put in some secret pages, but I'm not sure what pages I'll put in there yet. So that's how I will have this. So that's the setup of my Mini 5 and Traveler's notebook passport for April, and I love how matchy they are. I think I'm gonna enjoy carrying these two around as my kind of my main books for planning and for daily log journaling and occasional journaling as well. Kind of have those two as my sort of daily companions for getting things done and note-taking and stuff like that. So that's it for this video, my Q1 recap of planners and journals and notebooks that I used and how I used them, some transitions into April and Q2, a little bit of a setup, a new cover, and I'm really looking forward to continuing using my planners and journals and seeing what Q2 brings. So look out for my recap video, probably coming out after this month, and just kind of reviewing how things went in April. Until then, I'm Corolla on socials. You can find me at From Corolla. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.